Hi, kids. My name's Uncle Ricky. Miss Scott called and wanted to know if it'd be okay if a kid named Flat Stanley come to visit Aunt Stacy and I up here in the Northwoods for a few days. We said, well, sure, we love having company. Old Stanley showed up. Now, the Northwoods of Wisconsin is where we live, and we're about 1,100 miles north of you guys. We're about 100 miles away from Canada. That's how far north we are. Lake Superior, the biggest lake in the country, is just down the road. We go there for picnics. Now, Stanley showed up that night. I'll tell you what, he's a cute little beggar. We picked him up at the airport. He was so excited, and he had never been out here in these woods. And so we come to the house, and he said, Aunt Stacy, Uncle Ricky, I'm so hungry. I said, hey, you don't have to whine about it. You want something to eat? And he said, yeah, I could go for a burger. I said, I'll tell you what, go out there and clean that grill off and we'll have us some burgers. So Stanley, he went out there and he polished that grill up, got it going good. And we throwed some burgers on there. We had hamburgers and French fries. And oh, did we ever have a meal fit for a king. It was delicious. We were so full, we were sitting in here on the couch and he said, Uncle Ricky, what do you normally do for fun? I said, got me a pool table in the basement. See, I think I'm a pretty good pool player. So we went down in that basement to shoot some pool. See old Stanley up here with a cue stick? He beat me 3 games out of 5 on my table. Now that ain't even polite. Miss Scott, you could have told me that he was a pool shark. We could have watched TV or something. Anyway, we got a good night's sleep. We had a full belly and been playing pool, and he slept upstairs, and we got up the next morning, and we've got a bird feeder right outside the window, and it's always got really pretty birds on it. And we looked out there, and he said, boy, those are pretty. Do you think there'd be any way that if I got out there and I was real quiet, you think maybe one of them birds would come up close to me? I said, well, why don't we try it? So I went out there and hefted him up on there, and he was sitting so still, being so quiet, and sure enough, see this here bird that landed up there with him? That's called a rose-breasted grosbeak. He's called that because right there, it's hard to tell in that picture, but it looks like he's wearing a tuxedo, and it's bright, bright red. He is a beautiful bird. He's black and white with a bright red chest, and it's a male. The females are just dull brown, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Now, while he was sitting up there with that bird, he looked across the deck over there. We've got a squirrel feeder. It's a ball that we fill with peanuts, and the squirrels come to eat there. We put that there so the squirrels don't bother the bird feeders. And we get little red squirrels, we get chipmunks, we get great big gray squirrels, white squirrels, and black squirrels. I know you've never seen those around your house, not the black ones and the white ones, but we have them up here. And so Stanley, he said, how close you reckon I can get? So we went over there, and sure enough, he was so quiet and not moving. And looky there, a red squirrel showed up and sat right there with him. Now see how small he is? He's about the same size as Stanley. And that's the squirrel that we have the most of. There's just jillions of those guys around here. Back in the house, he met up with Palin. Palin is our yellow Labrador, and she is a sweetheart. I mean, he got along with her like nobody's business. She's the sweetest dog in the world, at least we think so. And so she goes everywhere with me. She rides in the front seat next to me. She goes everywhere except to church or to work. Otherwise, she's right there beside me looking out the window. I take her swimming every day. We go to a little lake right here to the house, close right down the road, and she goes swimming every day. That's her favorite thing in the world. In the winter, the lakes are all froze over, and she plays in the snow, but she'd rather swim. She's a wonderful dog. We have another dog. I'll just tell you about her. He got along real well with her, too, but it was a little bit different relationship. You see, this is Scarlet. Scarlet is a min pin. A min pin is short for miniature pinscher. You know what a Doberman pinscher is? Okay, this is the same kind of dog, but they're very, very small. They're miniature. Got the same attitude and thinks that she's a great big dog. And you've never seen such a dog have such an attitude. She thinks it's all about her. In other words, it took her 7 years to learn that when I said, come here, it meant sit down so I can come and get you, because she used to run away from me. if you want a puppy that will have nothing to do with you and think it's all about them, get a min pin. They're so much into themselves, they should be cats. Honestly, if you want a good puppy, get a yellow Labrador like Palin. Anyway, they got her wrong real well, and they're sitting up in a window here. When we built the house, we built this little seat in this window because we knew Scarlett would like to sleep on that because she loves to sleep in the sun. Well, old Flat Stanley said, I sure would like to go out in those woods. It's so pretty out there. So we got on the four-wheeler and we headed out. I'll tell you what, it was fun. We were out there for hours. Only problem I had is that son of a gun drives too fast. He like throwed me off the back of it. Had to tell him to slow down a few times. We went through water puddles, mud puddles, over logs. We just went everywhere, and we were out there for quite a while. We stopped in the middle of the woods, and he said, Uncle Ricky, you want to play hide and seek? I said, oh, man, I hadn't played that since I was like in the 1st or 2nd grade. He said, it'll be fun. I said, okay. He said, close your eyes, count to 100. And I said, I'll try. Been a long time since I counted that high. So I closed my eyes and started counting. And I'll tell you what, I like to never found him. That son of a gun had climbed up in them trees and was hanging by a limb up there. And if it hadn't been for that orange shirt, he might still be there. I don't know if I'd ever found him. He's good at that game. We were out there for about 4 hours. When we got back, man, he was driving too fast again. He come flying in the yard here, jumped off that four-wheeler, went running towards the house. I said, what's the matter? And he said, oh, man, I got to go to the restroom. He took off running and run in the house, and he had to go so bad he forgot to close the door. And I took his picture. I embarrassed the heck out of him for that. He should have closed the door. I mean, that's manners. He asked me to show you one more picture. He had to leave last night. He's gone. He's on his way home. He'll be back home sometime, probably tomorrow. Be back down there with you guys with his stories to tell. Now, he asked me to show you this picture for one reason. We took this picture, but it was before he got up there, and there was a red cardinal and a yellow finch sitting on the feeder. We have those yellow finches. They're my favorite birds up here. They look like canaries. But the reason he wanted me to show you the picture was because the cardinal, the red cardinal, you have those right there in Crandall. You've probably seen them. If you want them in your yard, then get yourself a bird feeder and don't put anything in it but black oil sunflower seeds. That's their favorite food, and they'll come to it. They love that stuff. Now, he's bright red. The female, dull gray. Just like with the rose-breasted grosbeak, the female is dull gray or brown. Why is that? Well, nature does that to protect them. She's that dull color so that when she's sitting on the nest, on top of the eggs, she's hidden. She blends in with her surroundings. She is camouflaged. Whereas the male, being a bright color, is what the predators see, and they follow him as he flies away. And that takes care of the little ones. Anyway, that's just kind of a fun fact to know. We've really enjoyed having old Stanley here. We had a blast with that kid, and he's certainly welcome to come back anytime. And we thank Miss Scott for sending him up here. You kids enjoy the rest of the school year. Your summer break's going to be here before you know it. And believe this or not, one day you're going to miss that class. Have fun.